to the water's edge, and the sun shone only at midday down upon the ledged and barred river, and the wild ducks played among the reeds, and the weird and lonely water ouzels built their mud nests under the overhanging rocks, and the eagles screamed aloft, and the deer and bear made trails along the shores. But at last the leaps of Clay Hill and 2 Mile Rapids released the river from the 100-mile grip of the mountains. Here it opened out and slowed down and spread wide over shallow, gravelly bars, and ran on merrily, its fury spent, its mood changed, its age realized, on through the pastoral county of the coast, past the picturesque farms of the Indians and the rude shacks of the fishermen, broadening and meandering, smiling from its shiny pebbled bed at the retreating banks and the low, colorful hills, and so on down to Gold Beach, assuming a deep, calm majesty when it found its home in the infinite sea. Outside the mouth of the Rogue lurked a motley swarm of salmon, steelhead, forktails, and silversides, and the hungry wolf-jawed jacks. They began to gather early in the spring, and every day thereafter the specked ranks grew. A marvelous instinct of nature brought them from out the ocean depths to the river which had given them birth. That same strange instinct actuated them with this restless, waiting urge. Sharks and seals moved them to and fro, but never drove them from this inevitable wait at the river's mouth. In great shadowy shoals they drifted close to the gateway through the breakers and listened for that mysterious call. When it came, it was as if an irresistible command had united them. It was the first rise in the river, the freshet from mountain rains, and the water carried a sweet cold scent of the springs and the gravel beds. The run was on. First over the bar were the great brown leather-backed, white-bellied salmon, and the others followed in a long, endless stream, like deer migrating from north to south. Their next obstacle was a man-made one. The wall of nets stretched across the wide river to intercept and capture and kill. Thousands strangled by the gills in the close meshes, but hundreds got through, or around, or over. The run was on, and only death could end that instinct to survive and to reproduce. All day fish came over the bar into the river, but it was at night when they ran in heavy numbers. The fishermen knew this, and cunningly spread their nets across the deep channels. Those fish that escaped went up the river, steadily, while the high water was on, sooner or later, when it fell again, to be halted by shallow bars over which they could not swim, or by rapids which they could not mount. Here in deep pools, and where cool springs bubbled out of the ferny banks, they waited again for another rise in the river, and ever their number grew. Days, sometimes weeks, passed before they could resume their journey. But most years nature provided the means by which the fish could move on upstream. At last they climbed above the region of obstructing shallows, and from then on the progress depended on strength and endurance. They shot the rapids and leaped the falls. Gradually their number thinned out. The long 200-mile climb was beset by perils and obstacles. The forked tails and steelhead had no such battle for life that faced the salmon. They were smaller, and nature had endowed them with endurance to get back to the sea. But the great scar-sided salmon sacrificed life in this struggle. Many weakened on the way, only to drop back. Others, leaping high to get over the falls, sometimes hit rocks and crippled themselves. All rested longer and longer in the still pools above the rapids. None ever reached the spawning beds without the wounds of battle. Upon the shallow gravel bars of the upper reaches of the river, the surviving salmon made their spawning beds. When the sun shone brightly, they could be seen almost motionless, huge brown